They took drugs, danced in a trance, and ran into battle without fear, like the fierce spearhead of a Viking army. The Berserkers fought without being tied down and scared the enemy. In 937 AD, the Irish and Scots worked together to attack the English king Aethelstan. He had a secret weapon. He could hire Vikings to fight for him. The attackers wanted to kill the king of the country next door, but Aethelstan didn't give up so easily. The Icelandic Viking Thorolf Skallagrimsson fights for the English in the Battle of Brunanburh in Northumbria. Thorolf doesn't wear chainmail because he doesn't care about dying. When the Scots and Irish are about to get the upper hand on the battlefield, he gets a wild rage and goes berserk. According to the 13th century Egil Skallagrimsson saga, Thorolf threw the shield on his back and then used his heavy two-handed spear to kill Scots and Irishmen to the right and left. Aethelstan won because of the Vikings. Fearless berserkers like Thorolf were a superweapon that often made the difference on the battlefield during the Viking Age. The berserk walk went back a long time. In the Viking Age, a berserk was a warrior who was seized by such a violent rage on the battlefield that he went berserk in bloodlust without regard for his own safety. Because berserkers didn't care about dying, they fought without chainmail, which could weigh up to 10 kilograms in Viking times. The Old Norse word for berserk is probably berserk, which means no shirt. This could mean that the berserks fought without shirts on. But some linguists say that the word originally meant bare shirt, and that the berserks fought while wearing bare skins. In any case, historian Michael P. Spidel says that brave half-naked warriors lived long before the Viking Age. A 3000 to 4000 BC stone figure found in Kernasovka, Ukraine, shows a naked warrior with long hair, a belt, 3 axes, a club, and a spear. Wild warriors existed all over the world. On the battlefield, the Vikings' berserkers were not the only ones who were angry. Throughout history, groups of wild, fearless warriors have made life hard for the enemy in many cultures. Spidel says that berserkers were also hired help in Assyria's army when King Tukulti-Ninurta defeated the Babylonians in 1228 BC. After the king won, he asked a poet to write a victory verse. Enraged, they ran to the front without armor. They had removed their breastplate, thrown away their clothes, tied up their hair, and polished their weapons. In the past, the Celts were known for going into battle against the more powerful Romans without any clothes on, up until the first 1,000 years after Christ. But this strategy was no longer used on battlefields in Europe, except in the Nordic countries. Even though Viking helmets didn't have horns, helmets with horns have been around since the Iron Age. Several of them show naked berserk-like warriors and men wearing animal skins dancing. Researchers say that the dance was meant to put the warriors into a trance before a fight. Around the year 900, the Vikings' berserkers are talked about for the first time. The Norwegian bard Torbjorn Hornklove wrote a poem called Harald's Squad. In it, he talks about the battle in Hafrsfjord, where King Harald Fairhair is said to have united Norway into one kingdom. The poem says that as soon as the longships anchored in Hafrsfjord, the berserkers were the first to go to war. The berserks roared, and the battle began. The wolf heathens howled and shook their spears. Wolf heathens, also called wolfers, were warriors who wore wolf skins as clothes. They may have been similar to berserks. According to Egil Skallagrimsson's saga, Harald Fairhair came sailing to the battle in Hafrsfjord with 12 berserkers in his forward longship. The sources thus indicate that the berserks functioned both as a kind of elite soldiers and as a vanguard that initiated battle. Archaeologist Jeanette Varberg has also said that the Viking kings and earls probably put berserkers in the so-called pig pack, a wedge-shaped group of warriors who charge straight into the enemy's front line to destroy it. Odin's warriors bit their shields. The berserkers apparently had a high status in society, and many of them were warlords. The berserkers are often shown in the sagas as men who steal women. Researchers think this may come from a time when ordinary men were expected to let powerful warriors sleep with their wives. The berserkers were very close to the god Odin, whose name meant the Raging One in its original form. In the Ynglingasagan from around 1225, the Icelandic historian Snorri Sturluson describes the berserkers as Odin's warriors. With one blow, Odin could make his enemies go blind, deaf, or terrified, and their weapons wouldn't hurt them more than a stick. But his own men went without armor and were as crazy as dogs or wolves. They bit the shields and were as strong as bears or steers. They killed everyone, and neither fire nor iron could hurt them. This is called berserker walking. A carved chess piece from the 12th century that was found on the Scottish Isle of Lewis is likely a picture of a berserker with his teeth on the top edge of his shield. Speitel, a historian, says that the strange custom started when people tried to act like bears. A bear's teeth chattering before an attack can be imitated by quickly biting into a shield. Harald Hardrade's saga says that a berserk attack was the perfect way for the Viking Age to end. In the year 1066, King Harald Hardrade led an army of Norwegians into England. The decisive battle took place at Stamford Bridge, and the saga tells that during the battle, the king became so wild that he leaped right out of the crowd and slashed with both hands. Then he had neither a helmet nor a chest guard. All the closest people moved away, and it looked like the English would have to leave. But an arrow hit King Harald in the neck, killing him, and the Norwegians lost the battle. Many people think that Harald's failed invasion marked the end of the Viking Age, and with it, the time of the berserkers on the battlefield. But the sagas kept telling stories about the berserkers, and that's how we know about the fearless super warriors of the Viking Age. This brings us to the end of this video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.